All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to attempt to make a Paladin versus Shaman PvP guide for Season of Discovery. In the ongoing drama of people saying Paladin or form posting that Paladins are OP, and then other Paladins doing posts saying they're not OP, please send buffs. And then me coming in and saying things like, or no, they also say Shamans are overpowered and need nerfs, and then me making videos saying I don't think they're anywhere near as overpowered as you think they are. They actually do have weaknesses in PvP. They can get blown up pretty easily. Fire resist really hurts them quite badly. The ongoing drama back and forth. One critique people keep coming at me with about how I'm wrong is that they can't beat shamans in PvP. And this is basically triggered me enough that I'm actually going to sit here and make a video on how to beat shamans in PvP. Traditionally, if you've never seen one of my PvP guides before, the vast majority of it is just me talking over an MS Paint. So if you want to tab out, it's just, it is what it is. I got footage I could show you of dueling shamans, but honestly, it's not that complicated. Let's just go with it that way. So up here we have my old. This is my classic. This is left over from my classic WoW PvP Shaman vs Paladin PvP guide that I made quite a number of years ago. This is the Shaman Burst, complete with. Let's zoom in on that really fast here so we can get in here. Back in Classic WoW, fighting a Shaman is actually much more complicated than it is in Season of Discovery. In Season of Discovery, the damn thing is basically just, it's like checkers, and it's basically just a gear check on the part of the Paladin, not so much on the Shaman. I'm just going to let the dogs bark. Got two Yorkies that literally just turned 1 year old. But the grenade here is a huge component of the Shaman Burst. Let's get our little box thing here. This is for Classic World of Warcraft. And in theory, they could also do this in Season of Discovery. But Fire Resist makes this kind of not super viable anymore. But their burst used to be these arrows. If you don't know how to read this, mean leads to. So you have to read this going from left to right, basically. So the sequence of events in Classic World of Warcraft is they start lightning bolting you at like 30-yard range. Then as you get closer, they drop down a Fire Nova totem. While that GCD is taking place, they spend a little bit of time to run away from you. While they're running away from you, they're throwing a grenade at you, so they'll end up stunning you like somewhere in this sector. Their goal is to stun you when you're within the Fire Nova totem's range. This is how it's done in Classic WoW. And then while you're in that 3-second stun and the Fire Nova totem is about to go off, that's when they Kamehameha you with the Chain Lightning and the Earth Shock, both of them being free criticals. That is the Shaman Burst, and that happens to you as a Paladin while you're basically trying to close the distance on them. All right, that's Classic World of Warcraft, and that's its own little thing. That you need to do this, you need to do that, blah, 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 blah. These parentheses here, these base numbers are the numbers of lightning bolt damage in Classic WoW if it doesn't crit, and the parentheses are what it looks like when it does crit, right? Obviously, everything doubles when it crits. Grenade, blah, blah, blah. But anyways, Shaman bursts in Classic WoW and in Season of Discovery are not that scary if they're not paired with a 3-second stun of some kind. And the only possible pairings of 3-second stuns are Tauren War Stomp, Grenade, which can be fire resisted, Goblin Mortar, which can be fire resisted, and Tidal Charm, which is a nature resist check. Why is this important? Well, if you have enough fire resist, let's say you have 200 fire resist. 200 fire resist is going to give you a whopping 55% chance to resist grenade stuns. And if they're not grenade stunning you, it's not really going to do anything. What's worse is if you're at 200 fire resist, you'll never take full damage from any fire spell. There's a 25% chance you'll take 25% fire damage, a 50% chance you'll take 50% fire damage, and then a 25% chance you'll take 70% fire damage. So you can see that the fire damage just completely, it does bad things to the burst of an Elemental Shaman in Classic WoW right here, because it screws with Fire Nova Totem damage, and it screws with the Goblin Mortar and or Grenade stun effect, not to mention the incoming damage from the Goblin Mortar or Thorium Grenade. But in Season of Discovery, what happens is this sequence of events doesn't really change. But what happens is Lightning Bolt gets swapped out for Lava Burst, and the nuking totem, the Fire Nova totem, gets swapped out for Flame Shock, I do believe. But I have yet to see a Shaman do a really good grenade stun burst in Season of Discovery. I'm still waiting to actually be properly hit by that. They're not doing it. Instead, what they're doing is they're doing a very simple purge into Flame Shock, into Lava Burst, and then they hit you with the Chain Lightning Earth Shock wombo combo, right? That's basically what they're doing, and that's literally all they're doing in Season of Discovery. They can't really fit a grenade in there, because at best they could throw a grenade, stun you, then Flame Shock you, then start charging a Lava Burst. But the combination of Flame Shock and Lava Burst is a 3.5 seconds to complete that. Grenade, you'd have to be like 25 yards away or something silly like that. It's really hard to do because you want the grenade travel time to be longer than 0.5 seconds to really get that good grenade burst off. But there's also no point to grenade bursting. So it's like whatever. So Shamans are literally just standing still, flame shock. They're like literally flame shocking you, lava burst, chain lightning, earth shock. Like they're not even feeding grenade into the mix. I think they've determined that they're better off feeding like a goblin sapper charge into the equation if they really want to. Do any kind of engineering whatsoever. They're better off in Season of Discovery using like a magic damage burst trinket as opposed to using like Goblin Mortar like they would in Classic WoW. Blah, 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 blah. Also, Fire Resist is much more ubiquitous in Season of Discovery, so the grenade stuns have a very high chance of being resisted. Okay, cool. But my point is that Flame Shock, Lava Burst are replacing these two right here, and you almost never see Grenade. So it's just weird. I don't know how to describe it. So I'm going to sit here for a hot second, and I'm going to describe the sequence of events that takes place. Oh my goodness, I completely forgot about Shamanistic Rage. Oh boy, one second. Shamanistic Rage. Indeed. Control C. Roger Dodger. Control V. Yes, sir. Pop it up over here. That's kind of a big deal. Woot woot. Control C, Control Z, Control V. All right, cool. Let's put this down here. Roger that. I also forgot like Judgment of Wisdom and all that good stuff, so I might have to pause the video here. Wisdom. Hopefully it pops up. Judgment of Wisdom. No, it did not. Okay. Judgment. Oh, there's an E there. Judgment of Wiz. You suck. Oh, I was going to do Judgment Set. How about Seal? Seal of Wiz. There you go. Rank 3. Thank God. All right, cool. Control print screen. Just bear with me here for a second. The matchup is a lot more like checkers in Season of Discovery. It's literally just a gear check. Control C, Control C, Control V. All right, cool. So these are pretty much the only spells that you're ever going to use when fighting a shaman in Season of Discovery. And the two of you, there is no closing thing that happens. Literally, the two of you are going to look something like this. Literally, let's just scooch you on over. Let's take the Paladin, scooch you on over. Let's put up more of a box, hit this thing. We want to buff this up maybe 200. Sure, we'll go 200. Bam. This is what you're going to be like the entire effing time you are fighting the shaman in PvP. You guys are basically going to be like lovers, just stuck to each other the entire time. The reason for this is because of how many hard cast spells the shaman basically has to do. The Shaman can be mobile when purging or when flame shocking, but the moment they do any kind of lava burst or the moment they do any kind of chain lightning, they have to like root themselves in place. So the Paladin will just literally be forever in some very you'll literally be forever like physically on top of the Shaman unless he's just literally running away for his life. Control C, control control. Okay, that's not the wrong. Is it? It's control Z. Yeah. Thank you. I want to copy this, not do anything weird. Okay, control this. Control. Is it control Y? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Then control V. Perfect. And then we want to reduce it by probably down to about 50%. And then we'll put them right there. Perfect. So this is representing the fact that you have Judgment of Wisdom on the Shaman. This is going to be your life. This is all that's going to happen. I probably should put cleanse here too. Control C, control Y, control V. Make this a little bit bigger. I think we're going to go with about 67. Put that a little bit fatter on the Paladin. This is all that's going to be happening. Okay. So allow me to explain why this is. So Shamans have Purge. Purge costs a Shaman 152 mana at 5% of their base mana. Sacred Shield costs 181 mana. 152 mana versus 181 mana for Sacred Shield. Purge purges 2 magical effects off of whatever target it is, and it has you can purge spam it, right? It costs them 1 GCD. What this means for playing a Paladin is that you're allowed to have 1 spell and only 1 spell on you, period, end of story, okay? You can melee the Shaman just fine with auto attacks, but you're only allowed to have 1 spell on you at any given point in time if the Shaman is purge spamming you, right? So of the 2 options you're going to want to do, one of them is going to be your Seal, most likely your Seal of Martyrdom or your Seal of Command, rank 1, because Seal of Martyrdom will greatly increase the damage you do to the Shaman with your auto attacks, especially if you're using a fast 2-handed weapon like a Typhoon. We'll talk about that in a second. Drink of water. Yeah. Seal of Martyrdom costs you like 60 mana. It'll cost the Shaman 152 mana to purge it off of you. It's almost always going to be up when you're melee swinging into the enemy, and it does cause Judgment of Wisdom to ×2 proc. So you'll get a ton of more mana back if you're doing nothing but trading Seal of Martyrdom into purges. So, for example, if they purge and I martyred them, and they purge and I martyred them, and purge SOM, purge SOM, purge SOM, purge SOM, purge SOM, I'm just going to be beating the crap out of them the entire time, regenerating absolute tons of mana, right, off of Seal of Martyrdom. I'll be doing tons of damage to them, especially with a fast weapon like a 2-handed weapon like Typhoon. I'm going to be generating, I'm going to be winning that mana war basically spectacularly. If the Shaman does anything else besides purge spam, I can start feeding in Crusader Strikes, for example. So, for example, at some point, the Shaman will have to spend a GCD to heal himself. So he'll be like, Riptide, or he'll refresh his Earth Shield, or something like that. And when you see that GCD usage, the next thing you know, you can just feed in your Crusader Strike and regenerate even more mana and do even more damage and blah, 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 blah. So that's option 1, right, is Seal of Martyrdom into purge spam. Option 2, which is more important for your survivability, is Sacred Shield spam. You spam Sacred Shield into purge. That is a 152 mana versus a 181 Sacred Shield mana trade. But since you're auto-attacking the Shaman the entire time, you more than make up the difference from the fact that Shamans cannot get off Judgment of Wisdom from them. Okay? The reason why you want to spam Sacred Shield, at least in the beginning part of the battle, and we'll talk about why that is in a second, has to deal with Shamanistic Rage. But for like the first minute, 30 seconds of fighting a Shaman, you're going to want to spam Sacred Shield. If they're purging off your Sacred Shield, you're just putting it back up. If they're purging it, you're just putting it back up. That's all you're doing. All you're doing is auto-attacking them like you're an auto-attack Andy. You're basically channeling your inner wannabe NPC. You're just auto-attacking them with a fast one-hander or a fast 2-handed weapon. to get your mana back from Judgment of Wisdom. And if they're purging you, you're just reapplying Sacred Shield. At some point, the Elemental Shaman, things work differently for enhancement shamans. At some point, the Elemental Shaman, if he wants to do any kind of real damage to you, he's going to have to stop purging you, and start hard casting spells into you, right? That's almost always going to take the form of him flame shocking you first, and then going into a lava burst, a 2-second lava burst cast. He's going to start his sequence, right? Again, the life of the shaman is literally purge, flame shock, lava burst, chain lightning, earth shock, purge, chain lightning, flame shock, lava burst, chain lightning, earth shock. That's literally the rotation they're doing on you, and they're only interrupting that rotation to do either shamanistic rage or to instantly to put instant cast heals on themselves. That's all the shaman is doing. Okay. If they do anything else, they're technically doing a worse play. Like, oh, I'm going to put a bunch of totems down. Cool. They're like 200 mana each. Just kill them as the Paladin. Like whoop-de-fucking do. Literally just start Crusader striking them out of existence, and you'll get even more mana back. There's almost no other play the enhancement the Elemental Shaman could do other than to run away in a straight line. That is better than the rotation I just described versus a Paladin. Purge, Flame Shock, Lava Burst, Chain Lightning, Earth Shock, interrupted intermediately by a need to heal themselves. Okay, cool. We good with that? Awesome. So the reason why we are Sacred Shield spamming is because when they stop purging and they Flame Shock us, we are guaranteed to have Sacred Shield up. So Sacred Shield will proc. It'll give us a nice HP shield active that needs to be purged off or dealt with through damage. Our next course of action as a Paladin will be to Flash of Light ourselves, okay? Because when they Flame Shock us, they have a 1.5 second GCD. They can't Earth Shock us anymore. They could purge, but, you know, I mean, the whole point of putting Flame Shock on us is so that they can do a Lava Burst. The whole Flame Shock Lava Burst combo basically gives you 3.5 seconds of casting time to do whatever the hell you want as a Paladin. By far the best thing to do as the Paladin is to... the first thing you do is to Flash of Light yourself, because the Flash of Light will have like an 80% chance to crit heal you, and to put like 2 additional hots on you while the Sacred Shield is active. So suddenly the Shaman has like 3 fucking things they need to purge off of you, which is terrifying. It also completely recovers and negates the damage done by Flame Shock. When the Lava Burst comes in, Sacred Shield, the HP... oh, my bad. You Flash of Light, and while you're casting the Flash of Light, you spam Cleanse. That way, once the Flash of Light completes, you immediately cleanse the Flame Shock off of you. That entire sequence of events will only take 1.5 seconds, so you can easily do it with plenty of time to spare. The Lava Burst, when it comes in, it no longer has a 100% critical strike chance. Even if it does crit you, Sacred Shield will take off something stupid, like, depends on what gear you're wearing, but anywhere between 300 and like 450 HP off of that incoming Lava Burst. Fire Resist gear does terrible, awful things to Lava Burst, but we'll talk about that in a moment. And of course, they still have to cast a 1.5 second Chain Lightning, extending the amount, everything that's been happening even further. But behind that 1.5 second Chain Lightning is another Earth Shock. If you really want to, you can cast another Flash of Light. So, for example, you can literally go Flash of Light, Cleanse, Flash of Light, and that whole sequence of events will take, let me think, 3 seconds, 4.5 seconds to complete. Right? It's 1.5 seconds to complete the Flash of Light. The Cleanse is instant, but it'll put you on a 1.5 second GCD, and then you still have to cast another 1.5 second Flash of Light. Congratulations, 4.5 seconds have transpired. But then you look at what's happening with the Shaman. Flame Shock is taking... Flame Shock. Flame Shock, blah, blah, blah. Flame Shock is a 1.5 second GCD. Then Lava Burst is in their 2 second spell cast. So now they're at 3.5 seconds of cast time. And then their Chain Lightning is another 1.5 seconds of cast time. So they are at 5 seconds of cast time compared to your 4.5 seconds of cast time. The point is you have enough time to weave in another 1.5 seconds of whatever the fuck you want before the Earth Shock shuts down any kind of healing. So if you want to, you can go Flash of Light, honest to God, you can go Flash of Light, Cleanse, Flash of Light before their full combo will take place. Or what I like to do is I like to go Flash of Light, Cleanse, and then Crusader Strike just to get the mana back and to do a little bit more damage. Once their Earth Shock takes place, okay, you're free to crit heal yourself. You're free to big boy heal yourself on all the damage you took from the Chain Lightning and the Earth Shock. So after you eat the Chain Lightning and the Earth Shock, so you've eaten a Flame Shock, a Lava Burst, a Chain Lightning, and an Earth Shock. Congratulations, you now have 5 seconds to put a Divine Light or a Holy Light into yourself and get right back to Sacred Shield spam. When they're done with this, all they can really do is purge. They got nothing else in the tank that they can really throw at you. Maybe they can try throwing 2-second lightning bolt casts, but they can't do anything to stop you from just Divine Lighting yourself and putting more flashes of light in yourself or going back into Sacred Shield spam, into their purge spam. So the rotation begins to repeat itself. But the important thing to note here is that the beginning of the rotation is Sacred Shield purge, Sacred Shield purge, Sacred Shield purge. Then when they Flame Shock you, you respond with a Flash of Light, followed up by spamming Cleanse. Once that happens, you'll eat a Lava Burst to the face. From there, you can decide if you want a Flash of Light or if you want to Crusader Strike. I advise Crusader Striking. And then once they hit you with the Chain Lightning Earth Shock combo, just Divine Light yourself or Holy Light yourself, and you'll be perfectly fine. Let me take a drink of water here. Now, it's important to realize, now we're going to go content, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I'm going to pull up this video. This is a video that I recently uploaded where I'm basically dueling a Tello here. We'll go back a little bit. We're not seriously dueling. I'm basically just showcasing things. Yeah, right here. So eventually, I teach him to do the whole Lava Burst, Flash of Light, Sacred Shield spam stuff, just to get some visual, like this is what it looks like, blah 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 blah. But it takes a while. I actually have to educate my boy on what to do. I'm like, okay, so his Sacred Shield is up, right? I Flame Shock him. I'm Lava Bursting. Notice while I'm going for a Lava Burst, he's going for a Flash of Light. That's because, a massive increase in the critical heal. And while you're Flash of Lighting, you're cleansing. So this is exactly what it looks like. So out comes the Lava Burst. It's going to be heavily reduced in damage through a combination of him having high fire resist and it not being a 100% a critical strike chance. We'll talk about that mathematically in a second. He just put up Wormthalac Trinket. But yeah, so this is what it looks like. So this one actually crits, so thank God. And was a low resist. Okay, cool. So anyways, he didn't cleanse it that time around, so I'm probably scolding him right now. But anyways, that's what it looks like. It's just purge spam, blah, 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 purge spam, blah, 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 blah. We tested Typhoon for mana regeneration. Ow. Okay. Was I testing? I think I tell him to here at one point, and then we test Typhoon mana regen. Come on, you can do it. Oh, all right. I forgot this is a 6-hour video. Huh. Yeesh. Come on, do Typhoon tests. It won't look like what we're basically showing here, because again, the two of you are just going to be in melee the entire time. You're going to be in melee for the entire duration of the combat. So for the first bit of combat, I forget I like to play with Maelstrom weapon, but this is probably a little bit better. Let's go back to when this fight started. We're not taking it super seriously here. We're just trying to showcase like the mechanics and more specifically what things like fire resist actually do to these kinds of rotations. So you can see he ate that before he got the flame shock off. He's a little bit rusty. I haven't quite trained up my boy yet. But yeah, you're just on top of each other. That's a perfect. Okay, that's perfect. So I'm purge spamming him. If I turn off the volume,
it's a little difficult figuring it out, but I got it.
There you go. Perfect. Yeah, so we got it there. Cool. That was super loud. Yeah, so I'm purge spamming him. He's sacred shield spamming. Okay, now he flash of light and cleanses. The lava burst comes in. I should be chain lightning him and stuff right now, but I'm not. The reason why I'm not chain lightning him right now is one, I'm still trying to train him, and more importantly, that lava burst did so little damage that it's not worth it for me to go in on that. But this is basically how it works. I have Judgment of Wisdom on me. He's got the 2-piece bonus. I've got all this Vindication crap going on at the same time. He didn't get the Flame Shock off quite in time, but you can see that he was just a little slow on the draw. He didn't quite get it there. But this is literally what it looks like. You can see his mana bar is not having any problems if I speed it up over time. He's just not divine lighting himself. I'm not earth shocking him or putting any real pressure on him in the grand scheme of things. Still just trying to train it up, but that's what it looks like. Now we need to talk about the terrible, awful, no good things that fire resist do to the Shaman burst. Okay, fire resist is like 90% of the gear check when you're fighting a Shaman. Gear check number 1 is, do you have a fast one-hander or a two-hander so you can get your damn mana back? Gear check number 2 is, dear fucking God, did you bring fire resist to the party? Yes or no? If you did not bring fire resist to the party, the Shaman is going to kill you. If you brought fire resist to the party, the Shaman cannot kill you. It's literally a night and day change in the matchup, whether or not you brought at least 160 fire resist or more to this to this party. In that short clip that I just showed, Tello has 180 fire resist, and I'm not doing anything magic pen-wise. Why is it so important? Well, because it mathematically completely shuts down Lava Burst. It makes Lava Burst its part in the rotation just terrible. I'm taking a drink of water here. To the point where the Shaman might be better off just throwing lightning bolts at you, but no Shaman is ever going to do that in SoD. All right, so let's talk about it mathematically here for a second, okay? So Tello there had 180 fire resist. At 180 fire resist, okay, let's talk about it in terms of 200 fire resist, because the math is much nicer. At 200 fire resist, you're never going to get a... damn it, I got to start there, I guess. At 140 fire resist in Classic World of Warcraft, 0% resist gets pushed off the table. There's 5 possibilities when you get hit by a spell in Classic World of Warcraft. Either it's 0% resist, at 25% resist, at 50% resists, or it 75% resist, or at 100% resists. Okay? There's 5 possibilities for the spells in the game. Every spell in the game follows these rules except for certain spells. Frost spells follow their own rules. Fire spells follow their own rules, and binary spells follow their own rules. A binary spell would be a spell that can only ever be fully resisted or not resisted, or full effect, right? Like most fears, sheeps, that sort of stuff. Those are binary spells. Stuns are your Hodge stun is a binary spell. Either it's fully resisted or it has full effect. Okay. Frost spells are weird, mostly because of their slow mechanics. If a frost spell also slows the enemy, well, even if it doesn't slow the enemy in SoD, but virtually without exception, frost spells are binary. Meaning they're either 100% resisted or they're 0% resisted and nothing in between. So that sucks. It's one of the reasons why frost mages are so deadly in Classic World of Warcraft. It's because their damn frost bolts are binary. They either do 100% damage or they do, or they're fully resisted with nothing in between. Fire spells are the opposite end of the spectrum from frost spells. At 140 fire resist in Classic World of Warcraft, 0% resist gets pushed off the table. The other weird thing about fire resist is even if you had no fire resist whatsoever, 100% resisting a fire spell never happens. Okay, you follow me on this? So, if you were butt naked and you had no fire resist whatsoever, and people started casting fire spells into you, you'd only ever see 0%, 25, 50, and 75% resist. You would never, ever, ever see a 100% resist fire spell. All right, you follow me on that? At 140 fire resist, the 0% gets pushed off the table, and so you only ever see 25%, 50%, or 70% fire resist, and nothing else. So at 140 fire resist, the worst your resistance can possibly do is minus 25%. It's going to do minus 25% damage or better. At 200 fire resist, okay, if 4 fire spells come your way, one of them mathematically will be 25% resisted, 2 of them will be 50% resisted, and 1 of them will be 75% resisted, and that RNG's averages out to a 50% fire resist in the grand scheme of things. So 140 fire resist pushes 0% off the table, so you're always going to get 25% fire resist or better. And then as you start stacking more and more fire resist, it starts doing terrible, awful, no good things to Shaman and other classes burst. Hunter burst has a sizable fire damage component to it, an explosive trap. Mages still throw around quite a bit of fire damage. I'm trying to think who else throws out fire damage. Grenades, goblin mortars, all that stuff is ubiquitous in Classic World of Warcraft. Having like at 200 fire resist, you have like a 55% chance to resist nade stuns. There's just all kinds of reasons to actually have fire resist on your character in PvP in Classic World of Warcraft and in Season of Discovery by extension. But let's talk about how bad this is. Okay, so I've done the math. At 180 fire resist. Okay, what I'm trying to explain here is that at 200 fire resist, if you cleanse the flame shock off, the shaman is looking at a situation where he's like, well, there's a 25% chance this lava burst crits you, and when it does crit you, there's only a 25% chance that I get the best possible result, which is minus 25% damage. You follow me on this? 75% of the time, even if it crits at 25% of the time, it's still gonna be reduced by like 50% or more, right? So some of those lava bursts I'm hitting Tello with are doing like 180 damage. They're doing like 180 damage critting, and that's because it was resisted by like 75%. And some of them are doing 200 damage because it's a it's like a 50% resisted non-critical into a sacred shield. It's just like Jesus. So I did the math. Tello here, with this 180 fire resist, it is a 1 in 10 of my lava bursts, if he cleanses flame shock, 1 in 10 of my lava bursts will crit and will only have minus 25% damage to it. Every other lava burst will perform significantly worse than that. It's a 1 in 10 chance that I get the best possible scenario per lava burst, which is stupid because if you didn't notice, lava burst has an 8 fucking second cooldown, right? And so if at 180 fire resist, I'm causing it to be 1 in 10 of these lava bursts will actually do some realistic damage to me. That means that this shaman needs to cast these things for like 80 seconds in combat before one of them will mathematically go his way. It's actually kind of stupid. To give you an idea of how bad this is, let's just cycle through some really fast. So a non-resisted lava burst critical should do about 2,400 damage in Phase 4. It'll go up a bit in Phase 5, but in Phase 4, I know this like the back of my hand. Worst case scenario, they're doing like 2,400 fire damage to you. Their best case scenario is that this is the 1 in 10, right? This is the 1 in 10. The 1 in 10 will still subtract like a 25% of that, which is 600. Then it has to get through a Sacred Shield that'll range anywhere between, like, minus 300 damage to, like, minus 450-ish damage, somewhere around there. Basically, if you're wearing a full plus healing suit, it'll be minus the Sacred Shields, because Sacred Shield has a 40% spell power ratio behind her, and she's not subject to the PvP damage reduction. Like, Tello here has a Sacred Shield that's absorbing, like, 280 damage. He has almost no spell power whatsoever. A more reasonably PvP geared a Shaman will probably have more plus healing. Therefore, their Sacred Shield will probably be closer to, like, 300 damage absorbed, maybe 350. A full plus healing Paladin, around about 500 plus healing, will have 450 absorb. But let's say it's Tello here, right? So he's minusing that by like 300 damage. So this is the 1 in 10 lava burst coming his way. We'll do like a 1500 damage to him. Great. Every other lava burst coming his way will do something like this. Let's say, I think the next best case scenario is that the lava burst crits, but it critted into a 50% reduction, and then we minus 300 because of the Sacred Shield. Again, our Sacred Shield has been activated by Flame Shock. Therefore, when the lava burst comes in, we have the Sacred Shield HP absorb is in play. Blah, 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 blah. We get all the benefits from Flash of Light, healing the HOTS, and so forth and so on. This is why their sequence looks the way it does. This is why our sequence, cast sequence, looks the way it does. So the next best situation they can find themselves in is like 900. I can look at the non-resisted. Okay, so this is a non-crit lava burst in PvP, but I only want to multiply this by 0.75, so it only takes out 750 and then minus 300. Okay, cool. So if the lava burst fails to crit, which is going to happen 75% of the time, and then if it fails to crit, so that's going to happen 75% of the time because you're cleansing off Flame Shock. It'll do 600 damage, right? That's like the third best case scenario. So it's like 1 in 10 lava bursts will do like a 1500 damage to our hero Paladin here. And then every other lava burst is going to be like sub 1000 damage, which is absolutely nothing. Those chain lightnings that I was throwing at him, at best, they would do like, 1500 damage. The Earth Shocks, let me see, they should be doing 800, but I gotta do the PvP damage reduction. Fuck off. 1800 times 0.7 equals, thank you, plus, honestly, we'll say maybe 1500 damage if they're using a burst trinket. And then I add, like, 1500, the best case scenario. So the best bursting case scenario that an elemental shaman can do to you, if you had like 180 fire resist, and you had very, very little plus healing gear on you whatsoever, would be 4,260 HP worth of damage. I don't know about you, but you're going to shrug that off super easy. You're going to, like, Divine Light yourself for, like, 3,000, immediately after that. So they're going to need burst after burst after burst to kill you. And that's just not going to happen with those little flashes of light or even the double flash of light combo that you're able to do. Like I said, fire resist just makes you very quickly mathematically unkillable. If we flash forward to my Paladin has a 430. I use a Heal Reckoning build. So that's 9 points in the Holy Tree. It's 9 Holy Tree, 25 Prot Tree, and then 17 in the Ret Tree. So I have 5 out of 5 Reckoning. I have 2 out of 2 Eye for an Eye. And then I have, with improved concentration aura, I have 100% spell pushback immunity for healing purposes. And on top of that, I have like 190 or 200 plus fire resist. That's just easy peasy lemon squeezy. Absolute monstrosity. Sacred Shields are 432 HP. So, and that build has, 5,400 HP. I'll showcase this in a second here. Oh yeah, it also has like 5,100 mana bar. Absolutely disgusting. What do I want to say? Yeah, it just makes it worse. So rather than taking 1,500 from the best case scenario, for the Shaman. I end up taking like 1350 damage, somewhere around there from the Shaman. And with the thicker HP bar and the thicker mana bar, the level of fucks not given is over 9,000. All right, so that's how you avoid dying to the Shaman. Let's talk about how you actually kill a Shaman, right? Okay. So not dying is one thing. Actually killing them is another. All right, so basically you have to play around Shamanistic Rage and understand Elemental Shaman's weakness. Let me cough really fast here. Yeah, better. So, Shamanistic Rage is so oppressive for the first like minute and 30 seconds of combat that if you're trying to kill a Shaman, if you're going for a kill on a Shaman in the first minute and 30 seconds of combat, you are 100% doing something wrong. There's no literally you better be like unless you are specifically reckoning and you have a plan. You have a plan. Unless you're specifically reckoning and you have a plan, and your plan probably includes having so much HP that you don't even need fire resist, so that you're maximizing the amount of damage you do to the Shaman from eye for an eye. You want the Flame Shock to crit. You want the Lava Burst to crit. You want everything to crit. You want it to do maximum damage to you so that you can reflect maximum damage to them and then wreck bomb them out of existence. Unless you're specifically reckoning and you have a plan, trying to kill a Shaman within the first 1 minute and 30 seconds is like literally trying to get an orgasm anally by fucking yourself with a cactus. It is beyond square peg meets round hole. Like, what the fuck are we even trying at this point? The reason for this is because within the first 1 minute and 30 seconds of combat, a Shaman will have 250% mana bar. Their mana bar is obscenely high. They don't have 5,000 mana. You can't see it right here, but I've got like a 5,200 mana bar on the Shaman. They don't have 5,200 mana. They have 13,000 mana. They have so much mana that they can do whatever the hell they want, whenever the hell they want, with no considerations or fucks given to whatever your concerns or considerations. They're heavily armored. They're stun resistant. It's even worse because even if you do get a stun on them, they have PvP trinket. So they're just going to trinket it away. It's a terrible, awful, no good time to try to kill them within the first 1 minute, 30 seconds. Okay? The closest you can even remotely try to kill a Shaman or go for a kill on a Shaman is after you've gotten their PvP trinket and after your Hodge stun has come back online. But if we're talking Orc here, like the first Hodge stun, 20% chance they resist it. Okay, cool. You got the first Hodge stun, but they PvP trinket it. The second Hodge stun comes out. There's another 20% chance that they resisted it. You got to get pretty lucky before you can pull the trigger on any kind of offense ahead of schedule, right? But around about the minute 30-second mark, you're going to be on like your third Hodge, your third or fourth Hodge. So their PvP trinket is definitely going to be down, and you definitely are going to stick at least one Hodge to them, no problem. But more importantly, the Shamans start living hand to mouth with Shamanistic Rage. So after a minute and 30 seconds, every 60, again, in the first 2 minutes of combat, they have 250% mana bar to play with. After the first 2 minutes, but every minute past that point, they only have about 100% of a mana bar to play with every 60 seconds. They get 75% of their mana regenerated from a Shamanistic Rage every minute. 1 second. Shut up! Regenerated every minute. And they also have whatever MP5 they have on their gear. And one of their runes that they like to put on gives them basically a ton of MP5. So just expect them to have one full mana bar to play with every 60 seconds past that point. Right. So you can... point is that you can't mana stress them at all for the first 2 minutes of combat, basically. Is that 2 minutes? 120 seconds? For like the first 90 seconds of combat, you can't put any kind of mana stress on them whatsoever. So they have all the mana in the world to maintain both any offensive or defensive operation that they possibly need to on top of PvP Trinket. But after that, they have to choose between offensive operations or defensive operations from a mana perspective. They actually start having mana issues, is what I'm trying to say. And so what you want to do as the Paladin is, it's at that point you want to get into like a Typhoon. And you want to stop using Sacred Shield so much, especially if you have your fire resist. And you start using Seal of Martyrdom. Because Seal of Martyrdom will suddenly give you tons of mana to play with. And on top of that, you start doing way more damage to the Shaman. And because they're taking so much more damage, they really have to start making hard decisions with their mana. Like, oh shit, do I actually start? They have to start spending a lot more mana on healing themselves, which means they have a lot less mana to offensively burst you, which is the whole reason why you're able to use Seal of Martyrdom all of a sudden. But again, the fire resist is mission critical to this, right? And you need to be a little bit sensitive to when their burst ability on a 3-minute cooldown, Elemental Mastery comes back into play, right? You don't want to be, if they have that up and you're not using Sacred Shield stuff, it might not be the best thing in the world, but it really depends on how your Paladin is geared. Are you low HP, high DPS, but you brought fire resist to the party? I wouldn't, yeah, that's going to look one way versus, are you a much thicker boy on the HP bar? And therefore you don't really give a shit if they, get a second Elemental Mastery off while your Sacred Shield is down. You're just going to keep beating the crap out of them. In fact, you would like to take more damage from so you can reflect eye for an eye. But moral of the story is that you have to try to kill them in a Hodge stun. If you are a Reckoning Paladin, you can pretend like you suck and start spamming flashes of light to heal yourself when you get low life and you get low mana. The Shaman will turret spells into you. He'll oblige you and turret spells into you. This allows you to basically hide the fact that you're charging up a full Wreck Bomb, and then you basically go for a Hodge stun. If you get the Hodge stun, you put a Wreck Bomb into them, and the Shaman is super dead. Like, holy fuck, are they going to die if you get a full Wreck Bomb on them inside of a Hodge stun. Like, giga dead. Like, do not pass go, do not collect $200. They are going to fucking die. They will lose somewhere around 80% of their life from the Wreck Bomb instantaneously, and then you have 6 seconds to just work them over with literally everything else. Just make sure to Seal Twist. In the Wreck Bomb, you don't have to Seal Twist, but like I don't Seal Twist, but it's a good thing to do. So Reckoning Paladins have it pretty easy as far as, charge up Wreck Bomb and then go for the deletion. Deep Ret Paladins are a little bit of a different beast, but you still definitely want to catch them in the Hodge stun. Other things that Deep Ret Paladins can do, which are kind of interesting, is you can, if you have Rebuke, if you rebuke the Chain Lightning, it shuts down their Nature School of Magic, which also shuts down all their healing spells. So you can wait for them to be casting a Chain Lightning, tell them to shut the hell up on their Chain Lightning. It'll shut down all their offense and their healing capability for 3 seconds. And right before that 3 seconds wears off, then you go for the 6-second Hodge stun. So you can add an additional 3 seconds to basically your 7.5 second-ish burst. Basically, you Hodge stun them, and then you're either using a Goblin Sapper Charge or you're using a Thorium Grenade in the hopes that you can extend the stun time from 6 seconds to 7.5 seconds. But Rebuke is really nice. You just rebuke the Chain Lightning and start having at them. 1 second, let me check. Okay. I'm not 100% sold on that tactic, to be perfectly honest with you. And the reason why is because if you're a Deep Ret Paladin, you have eye for an eye, and it starts becoming questionable whether or not it's better to just take the... Like, you might actually just straight up want to take the Chain Lightning Earth Shock to the face. That way, eye for an eye reflects back at them, and maybe that will cause you to have a better chance of killing them. You know what I mean? But Rebuke is definitely a potential thing that you can do. Let me think about that. I really don't know. You don't want to be using Purifying Power rune. You 100% want to be using the Hammer of Wrath rune when you're, well, against just about anything, but especially when you're going after a Shaman, because it's kind of critical to helping you kill them. All you got to do is drop them down below 30% life and delete them out of existence. And if you have Eye for an Eye, the Shaman will, there'll be plenty of time for you to notice that the Shaman is doing a lot of the work for you, let's put it that way, and helping you blow them up out of existence. And then Reckoning is its own animal. Holy Shock kills them very similarly, but you also have to try to kill them in a Hodge stun. But Holy Shock just keeps trying to kill them on cooldown with their Hodge stun. So literally, they have no build up to it, if that makes any sense. They literally they throw out the Hodge stun. They if it stuns the target, then they use their free critical heal on their Holy Shock, and they just hope that they get a bunch of resets with their Holy Shock, and that, if they don't get it, they just wait for the next Hodge stun and rinse and repeat until basically the Shaman dies. Shamans actually have very low HP, believe it or not. It's their one biggest weakness right now. They're pretty god tier in every other aspect of the game. Their mana efficiency is god tier. Their range damage is god tier. Their burst is god tier. Their sustained DPS is god tier. The one weakness they have is they can be bursted out of existence in Season of Discovery. And every Paladin that I know of has a burst now, right? If you catch your 6-second stun in Season of Discovery is technically a full wreck bomb and change in Season of Discovery. So, again, my advice is you need to try to kill them in Hodge stuns. Feel free to wear them down for like the first 90 seconds of combat, then switch over to like Typhoon, like a fast two-hander with a Seal of Martyrdom span. That'll really stress out their HP bar and their mana bar. At some point, they'll decide to go offensive on you. At a minimum, you'll have Reckoning or Eye for an Eye. The only Holy Shock Paladin you should be playing is Shock Eye. The Shock Eye has 17 points in the Ret tree, specifically to pick up Eye for an Eye. Every other Paladin has Eye for an Eye or has Reckoning, right? And basically, if you're doing a lot of HP damage to them, at some point they're going to say, fuck this, and they're going to go for the Flame Shock, Lava Burst, Chain Lightning, Earth Shock, Kamehameha combo on you. And if you literally just survive that with all the Reflect damage and Reckoning procs, and you're able to stun them for 6 seconds, that Shaman is giga fucking dead. Find a Sapper Charge. He's toasted. He's done. He's going to be absolutely fucking deleted out of existence. We tested some wreck bombs here with Tello. Let's go. So actually, we can see some wreck bombs. He's using what's it called? We're charging him up for wreck bombs right now. He's using Spinal Ripper. Spinal Ripper is like 3.9 speed, 77 damage right now in phase 4. So here comes the wreck bomb, the stun. He's going to wait a hot second. He's going to seal twist. I eat the bomb. Look at my HP bar. Look at that. Now, if I was playing Shaman in Season of Discovery, I'd be a bit thicker on the HP bar. This is full tier 1 with change, and she only's got 4,500-ish mana. Specifically, this guy has 4,200 HP. But yeah, I'm giga dead, right? Homie did not Crusader Strike me. There's no Hammer of Wraths. There's no he's not even using a burst trinket. Even something as simple as 6 Demon Bag would be terrifying right now. When you get the Zandalari Hero Charm trinket, that would be awful. No Goblin Bomb Dispenser. There's no burst trinkets going on whatsoever with that Wreck Bomb. What else is there to say? No Sapper Charge, right? If I can gear a Shaman to kind of sort of be able to survive a Wreck Bomb, but I have to sacrifice so much of my offense, it's not worth it, and no Shaman in the entire game is gonna play that way. So yeah, just a simple Wreck Bomb and change with a decent two-handed weapon for Wreck Bombing is just gonna do it, and it's just gonna be GG's. So Reckoning will do it. If you don't have Reckoning, Eye for an Eye and 6-second stun plus Narnia will probably kill them. Absolutely no problem. It's actually a pretty easy matchup. It's just 100% a gear check. Paladin versus Shaman is 100% a gear check. If you did not bring fire resist to the party, you done fucked up. Okay? If you did not bring enough HP or enough damage to the party, then that's basically your second fuck up. By far the worst thing you can do is like, I'm going to use like, a refined Arcanite Reaper, and like run out of mana because I don't understand. I'm technically in a mana war, bleh. So here we have like, like a judgment set. This is like a pure healing judgment set. 6,500, 408 HP. That's pretty terrifying. Damn near 6k mana bar. This is with Hammer of the Lightbringer. No idea if we get to use this in the open world or not. Might only be able to use it in instance content, which would suck. Fire resist on this build is super low. So you couldn't pay me to go and fight a shaman with this low of fire resist. But the sheer act of me, like, putting on a hand of Rag, and it should be much easier for you to get Rag in the future as the game goes on as a paladin. Suddenly we actually have enough fire resist to start fighting here. It's still a little low. We're not hitting our minimum breakpoints for fire resist, but a few tweaks here and there. These are rings of entropy. I could easily switch this out for Arch. An Archmagus. Yeah, good old seal of the Archmage. We'll keep like one and a title loop. Yep. Switch it out. Yeah, so our fire resist is now 150. You'll notice I have a Heart of the Scale trinket. 100% you need a Heart of the Scale trinket. The plus 20 fire resist and reflect damage cannot be purged. 10-minute cooldown, lasts 5 minutes. Absolutely get this. Plenty of time to kill anything in the game. So you'll easily have 170 fire resist without breaking a sweat. Can I get any more fire resist going here? I don't think I have fire resist Librams. No, this has the new Librams, the 20 stamina and intellect and plus healing. But you can see that we'd be at 170 fire resist. That's more than enough fire resist to get the minimum amount of fire resist. If I was a psychopath, and I am a psychopath, we could swap out this for fire resist enchants. You can see that my HP bar starts dropping to maybe a level I don't like. You can see my mana dropped, my plus healing dropped, a bunch of things dropped. But now we have 190 fire resist without even using fire resist aura. Hell, we have 210 fire resist without even using a fire resist aura. That's kind of messed up. Like, a shaman's not going to be able to do fuck all against that. So 100% that's a gear check. Blah, 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 blah. The last thing to talk about here is how to beat Elemental Shaman in Season of Discovery if you are a Deep Ret Paladin specifically. Because Holy Shock and the Reckoning Paladins have a significantly easier time dealing with them than the Deep Ret Paladin. I'm convinced at this point, let me take a drink of water. I am convinced at this point that by far the best way to gear your Deep Ret Paladin is to pretend, in a Season of Discovery, is to pretend you're a Ret Reckoning Paladin. What this means is that you want a crap load of stamina on your Paladin, and you want like a middling amount of intellect. So you want like 3,000, 3,500 intellect. You don't need that much intellect for a Ret Reckoning Paladin, but you want your effective standing HP bar to be so thick, all right, that you can walk through enemy bursts and you don't even need to do anything to stop it. You don't need to throw grenades. You don't need to PvP trinket. You don't need to use Repent. You don't need to use Hodge Stun to survive the burst. You don't need to do fuck all to survive the bursts. Why? Because you just ran at them with like 6,700 HP and their burst is like, at most 6,500. And on top of that, you've got like, resist gear to lower that even further. So you want to just be able to wade through the enemy burst, get on top of the enemy physically by sacrificing your HP bar. Reckoning Paladins are notorious for this because they want all the Reckoning charges. They want to take all that damage. They want as much eye for an eye reflect damage as possible. So they just get these giant thick HP bars and they just press W through the burst and then they delete you out of existence with a Wreck Bomb in conjunction with all that eye for an eye damage. Deep Ret Paladin will not have Reckoning, but you have Repent. And what you can do in that case is, say you eat the burst to your face, right? Like, you just eat it. And you have all the HP in the world to do that. So say you're sitting there, you've eaten the burst high rolled, so you've only got like 10% life left. You have all the time in the world to hodge stun them. If they trinket the hodge stun, then you just get, how do I put this? You want enough HP. I forgot about this element. You want enough HP to not only survive the incoming burst, but to be able to sit on top of the enemy for long enough that you're able to get your full Deep Ret rotation on cooldown. So you're able to seal twist them, Crusader strike them, divine storm them, hodge stun them. So you want about 20% of your life left over after eating the burst, giving you plenty of HP left over that you can just sit on top of them and just rotate, get all your abilities on cooldown. Then you hit them with the repent. And that's when you can, divine light yourself, holy light yourself, get that fat HP bar back up to like 70% HP, and give all your abilities like 6 seconds of time to come off a cooldown. When the enemy finally comes out of the repentance, you can just start giving them the business again. The other option that you can do is you can use repent and divine steed to run away and then heal back up to full. And wait for use your thicker than normal mana bar to successfully heal back up to full, and then you just come back in later when your hodge stun is off of cooldown. Right, that's more of a control ret or a ret reckoning play, because they go deep enough into the prot tree. They have no self healing. They have no spell pushback immunity for their healing spells, so they have to heal off of hodge stun or repent, or not at all. They just go all in on you with like bubble and shit. But they do get deep enough into the prot tree that they get their hodge stun with the PvP gear down to like 35 seconds. So that paladin literally gets to run away for a bit, heal up to full with a slightly above average mana bar, and then they come back in for round 2, except this time you don't get to trinket the hodge stun, and their repent is back up because it's been like 60 seconds, and they just do it all over again. They delete you out of existence. I think if you're trying to go this heavy DPS route as a DPS paladin, so you have low stamina, low mana, but high DPS, I think you're trying to force a square peg through a round hole. I think you're much better off being like, 5,600 HP, rep paladin, blah, 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 blah. I'll pause the video really fast and gear one up for us to look at. Yeah, let me just pause the video. Oh, and Typhoon is absolutely great, but we already talked about that, so let me pause. Oh, damn. How long have we been here? All right, one sec. Pause. Alrighty then. Let's check her out, shall we? Okay, so this is a Phase 4 build. There's nothing here that isn't Phase 4, to my knowledge. We have Essence of Pure Flame, just, stamina, fire resist, damage to attacker. That really helps versus rogues and other enemy melee classes. We have Heart of the Scale, because she's going to give us more stamina and an absolute metric shit ton of fire resist that cannot be purged. So that's like, plus 30 fire resist right there. We have Spinal Ripper. She's one of the easiest to get and one of the better big dick weapons that you can possibly lay into somebody with as a Deep Ret Paladin. Just because she's 76 damage on a 3.9 speed weapon. If I try to type in like Refine, like Arcanite Reaper, for example, that's only 67. Faithbringer only has 67 damage, but even like I have a Faithbringer personally. Lava Dredger is not something you'd really want to go for. Blah 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 blah. Also has 54 attack power and 28 stamina. Just a really good, really solid, really scary Paladin weapon. Definitely go get your hands on it. What else do we got going on here? We have a fireproof cloak. Why? Because it gives us some intellect. It gives us a ton of fire resist. Also, for our Sacred Shield, we're not really lamenting plus healing. If you don't know, Paladins in Season of Discovery scale a lot better with plus healing than they do with spell damage and healing, believe it or not. But this is, good luck telling the Ret Paladins that, though. What else do we got going on? A Nixia Tooth Pendant. There's almost no good options for offensive or defensive/offensive neck pieces here. This thing just happens to come with, spell hit, critical strike, and it's one of the better neck pieces in the game. Always has been. Literally has not been changed stat-wise from Classic World of Warcraft whatsoever, and she's still amazing. We've got 5-piece PvP Ret gear, super easy to get your hands on. When I do my gearings, I always try to consider how easy it is to get pieces of gear, especially for a Paladin. Everything is fire resisted, so fire resist Librams, fire resist shoulder enchants, coronation cloak, fire resist. Everything else is stamina based. We even have +7 stamina to the boots because we're like good. Theoretically, we are a Deep Ret Paladin. In fact, I will reset my Heal Reckoning talents away from here. Come on, go away. Cool. So it's gone now. I personally suggest playing Paladin rather than putting points into Strength. This is a Season to Taste thing. I prefer putting points into Divine Intellect. Believe it or not, that increased mana bar is kind of a big deal. And we actually do have some mana bar to play with, but I'll take it off for now, but whatever. You can see we got 2,800 mana. We could be better on mana, but the only place we could really improve mana-wise is if we do this. 1 second here. I personally prefer this build, and I'm starting to remember why. Yeah. Okay. Let's put on double. We want 2-piece Lawbringer, but we want the healing set, just because we kind of need a little bit more intellect, and the 2-set bonus is kind of how do I put this? It's like if you're trying to kill somebody and you desperately need damage, then the Ret Lawbringer set is better. But in just about every other circumstance, the healing 2-piece Lawbringer set is better. And the reason why it's better is because they both come with critical strike. So it's not like, it's like, yeah, one, you don't have like, plus holy damage and strength on it, but you still at least have the critical strike. And again, the plus healing's not the worst thing in the world. But more importantly, the 2-set bonus, it causes your Judgment of Light to have a 70% chance to proc per hit, which suddenly makes wielding Typhoon and a refined Arcanite Reaper, for example, much, much more viable under a wide swath of PvP conditions. You can see our mana bar has now jumped up to levels where she's actually quite reasonable. Again, I'll put in the talent points, but this is really a Season to Taste thing. If we put Divine Intellect up, then we suddenly have like a 3,500-ish mana bar, which is super reasonable. Right, you're going to feel very comfortable with this thickness level of a mana bar. Believe it or not. We have Rings of Entropy. Why Rings of Entropy? Well, because they have stamina, intellect, and they got that critical strike on them. And they also come with some plus healing, which is awesome. The Rings of Entropy are pretty damn easy to get off of Lord Kha'Zix. You just go heal Lord Kha'Zix, and you can get Ring of Entropies, no problem. Otherwise, you'd probably be using, like, Seal of the Archmagesses or a Tidal Loop Charm or something stupid like that. But you'll notice that we have a 6-piece set of Ret gear here. Then we have like one neck piece that's considered ret gear. And then every other piece of gear we have on this thing is either here because it brings a ton of fire resist to the party, or because it brings intellect combined with melee critical strike and spell critical strike to the party. And this just ends up being like a super well-rounded build. So we got 5,300 HP. That's a crap ton of HP for a paladin of this type. If you use Wild Blossom Berries, you'll go up, super easy to use. You'll go up to 5,400 HP. Your mana bar is nice and thick at 3,400-ish mana, 3,200, 3,400 season to taste stuff. But the real kicker here is what happens when I scroll down to my fire resist. I have 145 fire resist without fire resist aura. If I activate Heart of the Scale Trinket, that's going to go up to 165 fire resist without fire resist aura, meaning that this build can use fire resist aura. It cannot use fire resist aura. It's really a season to taste type deal. But of course, if we do throw on fire resist aura against God knows what, our fire resist is going to be what is that, 165 plus 60. It's going to shoot up to 225. How do I put this? At 225 fire resist, you could have a 4,400 HP bar, and an elemental shaman literally could not kill you. In a million years, they could not kill you. Why? Because we already calculated that their best possible burst that they can do was doing 4,260 HP. And that's if they get super lucky, the 1 in 10 burst. But the 1 in 10 burst was at 180 fire resist, not fucking 225 fire resist. Good fucking luck, right? We also have way more HP than that, which is really, really, really good stuff. I think this is just a better Ret Paladin build in the grand scheme of things. You have enough HP in this Ret Paladin build. I can calculate it really fast here if you want me to. 227 plus healing. All right, cool. Right, so I need 277. 277 times 0.4, because Sacred Shield has a spell power ratio behind it. Then I have to add 245, because that's a base of Sacred Shield. So you have 355 Sacred Shields here. If a Boomkin tried to blow you out of existence in this gear, Boomkins do about 6k damage in their burst. They're one of the highest non-fire damaging bursts in the entire game. Hunters do a really good burst, but they have a lava burst element to their burst, so they'll do less. So this is the scariest burst you can possibly run into outside of a Frost Mage. Frost Mage is literally where about 100 arcane resist, about 120 arcane resist against a Frost Mage, and suddenly you start beating the crap out of them because they can't sheep you anymore. Ironically, I have an entire video on that. Okay, what was it? It was 355 Sacred Shields, right? 5,400 standing mana bar. A Boomkin's burst can happen in a place and time where you only have a single Sacred Shield proc. So I have to add 355 to this. Yeah. So it is possible for a Boomkin, if they get lucky enough and they crit you enough in a burst, to blow you up out of existence. What are the odds of that per burst that they can pump into you? It's about let me think. I want to say 30%. When they burst, because what happens is they starfall you or whatever, and it stuns you for 3 seconds, and then they cast their Star Surge into you, and if the starfall crits and the Star Surge crits, and they usually have a little bit of chip damage on you because they got some dots on you, a type of a deal, and then the Moonfire after the Star Surge crits. If everything crits you, they do 6,000 damage. You'll die to that, but that's only going to happen 30% of the time. Mathematically speaking, Boomkins are really easy because you just don't use Crusader Strike. You literally just use Hand of Reckoning versus them. And with this mana bar, with this HP bar, what Hand of Reckoning will do is it basically acts like an additional 10% life. It basically gives you kings. as far as durability is concerned. And you can already see that with the Sacred Shield, you're going to survive that super, super easily. You'll survive every burst in the game, except for Frost Mage, super, super easily. The only burst that can possibly kill you is a Boomkin, but you just, put on Hand of Reckoning, and suddenly they can't kill you anymore, mathematically. Yeah, your mana bar is thick enough to do what you want to do. Your DPS is thick enough to do what you want to do. This is a better Deep Ret Paladin build than the crap that I keep seeing running around. The stuff I keep seeing running around, it'll be like, I got 4,400 HP and 2,700 mana. And it's like, what the fuck are you doing? Or like Savix, it's like I have 4,200 each HP and 2,500 mana bar. What the fuck are you doing? Other examples, yeah, just don't do it. The thicker mana bar is good. The thicker health bar is good. Look at your critical strike chance. Your critical strike chance is actually quite high. You've got 9.5 crit chance from gear. That's actually really, really good. That's because the Rings of Entropy are bringing a critical strike chance to the party. The Lawbringer Belt brings crit chance. The Bracers bring crit chance, even though they're plus healing gear. All that was plus healing gear, but it all brings melee crit to the party. And of course, Onyxia Tooth Pendant is also bringing hit and crit to the party. This is a better Deep Ret Paladin build. You got the fire resist. You got the HP. You got a more mana bar to play with. You got a big beat stick weapon. Everything here is good. Good, good, good. Wear this gear if you're a Deep Ret Paladin, okay? You'll beat the crap out of everybody and their dog. Anyways, I'm going to end the video here, and Deus Vult.